This is the spirit of revelation. This is the spirit by which Moses brought the children of Israel through the Red Sea on dry ground. Why would the Lord use the example of crossing the Red Sea as the classic example of the spirit of revelation? It's a classic example of a miracle, but he says it's the spirit of revelation. Revelation almost always comes in response to a question, usually an urgent question. Not always, but usually. Moses' challenge was how to get himself and the children of Israel out of this horrible predicament. There were chariots behind them, sand dunes on every side, and just a lot of water immediately ahead. He needed information, all right, what to do, but it wasn't a casual thing he was asking. In this case, it was literally a matter of life and death. You will need information too, in matters of great consequence, but it is not likely that it will come unless you really want it urgently, faithfully, humbly. Moroni calls it seeking with real intent. If you can seek that way and stay in that mode, not much the adversary can counter with will dissuade you from a righteous path. But did you catch the line I tried to emphasize? Moses began to fear exceedingly. And as he began to fear, he saw the bitterness of hell. That's when you'll see it, when you are afraid. Fear almost always plays a destructive, sometimes paralyzing role. Like Moses in his vision, there may come after the fact some competing doubts and some confusion. That is exactly the problem that beset the children of Israel at the edge of the Red Sea. It has everything to do with holding fast to earlier illumination. The record says, and I quote, "And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. And they were sore afraid. Some said, 'Let's go back. We must have been wrong. That probably wasn't the right spirit telling us to leave Egypt.' What they actually said to Moses was, 'It had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.'" And I have to say, what about that which has already happened? What about the miracles that got you here? What about the frogs and the lice? What about the rod and the serpent, the river and the blood? What about the hail and the locusts and the fire and the firstborn sons? How soon we forget. It would not have been better to stay and serve the Egyptians. And it is not better to remain outside the church, nor to reject a mission call, nor to put off marriage, and so on and so on and so on forever. Of course our faith will be tested as we fight through self-doubts and second thoughts. But it will pale when you measure it against the real thing. Remember the real thing. Remember how urgently you have needed help in earlier times, and that you got it. The Red Sea will open to the honest seeker of revelation. The adversary does have power to hedge up the way, to marshal Pharaoh's forces, dog our escape right to the water's edge, but he can't produce the real thing. At those times, we must resist the temptation to panic and to give up. At those times, fear will be the strongest of the adversary's weapons against us. Fighting through darkness and despair and pleading for the light is what opened this dispensation. It is what keeps it going, and it is what will keep you going. Exerting all our powers, the light will again come. The darkness will again retreat. Our safety will again be sure. With Paul, I say to all of you this morning, face your doubts, master your fears, cast not away therefore your confidence. That tenacity is what saved Moses when the adversary confronted him, and it is what will save you. Stay the course and see the beauty of life unfold for you.